Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk. Today, we're playing Even the Ocean. This is a game by Analgesic Productions. Analgesic? The people who made Anodyne and Anodyne 2. This recently got a Switch port, which is what I am playing. And with the recent release of Anodyne 2 on the Switch as well, I thought it would be a good time to go back and take a look at one of their previous works. This is kind of their sophomore effort after Anodyne, which was kind of their big breakout hit. Whereas Anodyne was a little bit more like a kind of Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening like game. This one kind of reminds me in some ways of like a platformer crossed with a JRPG. In particular, reminds me of Quintet's Heaven and Earth saga. You might be familiar with stuff like Terra Enigma, Soul Blazer, and ActRaiser. Games about kind of re-resurrecting the Earth and kind of restoring them. And it's in a similar way. This game has kind of that routine or kind of a ritualistic sense to it, while here the routine is more of kind of less of like the feeling of a spiritual repetition and more of a kind of everyday workaday image. Basically, the story here is Aleph, our character, ends up in a disaster on her first day of the job, and her coworker ends up dying in the process. And after that, she ends up fixing one of the stations out that they were sent to repair on her own. And because of it, she gets into the good graces of the mayor, who lets her in on a little secret that planet's dying, Aleph, and what we need you to do is go to different various factories and reset them so that we can get the power back to Whiteforge, the city, and prevent it from crashing down into the area below. And so she ends up going through, right now we're going to be going through several different plants. We can kind of pick which ones we can go to, and they're basically just different dungeons with different gimmicks of how to use your shield and approach the puzzles. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the city entrance, and we are going to, let's see, I think this is the way out, if I'm correct. Yeah, here we go. This is Yara. She is, I believe, the partner of Cassidy, the one who we just attended the funeral for. Our co-worker of a very short time. I think this game in particular is kind of worth playing just because, just to spoil a little bit of the thematic content later in the game, it's kind of about being a model minority in a lot of ways, and I think that's kind of a very prescient theme, and it feels like very relevant considering the kind of origins of the creators. Both of them do identify as Asian American, and additionally you could say the same thing for me, and it's something that you kind of deal a lot with as an Asian American is there's this idea of the model minority that you, by somehow being like a, by buying into like this kind of idea of respectability and of becoming a model citizen, that you can kind of join into the ranks of upper class society and kind of blend in. This kind of idea of assimilation, which we all know is like uh, not really true. There's always like a certain sense of being othered as an Asian American, and you can, it's pretty uh, clear right now, especially as you know, anti-Chinese sentiment becomes more of a commonplace thing among all kinds of different parts of the population here in the United States, um, almost to the point of getting like a wokeness pass to it. You know, it's like very popular to hate on China. Actually, I think this is the plant that we originally came to, and saw our coworker dying. Um, but yeah, so the what is so kind of what happens is, um, just again to spoil a little bit of it, uh, this game, it kind of asks a lot of questions about what it means to contribute to a society that is kind of kind of built on exploitation. Like it's pretty clear even early on that White Forge is built on the exploitation of natural resources, and by repairing these factories, you are actually helping to continue that exploitation. And various characters will kind of come to you and, you know, question you about your motivations, the morality of what you're doing, and Aleph kind of buys into that idea that because she was the one who was able to kind of be successful under that pressure, that her the thing that she's doing is crucial, that it's important, and that it's necessary. And it ends up kind of being part of the themes in how otherwise good people can end up the buying into the kind of like hegemony that's kind of built in there. And you know, it's very not exactly on the nose, but it's kind of really like I would personally say it's kind of like, you know, obvious for in a little bit of respect. Like it's like it's not that it's surface level, but it is very kind of like um 101, but I think it or very kind of basic rather in its theming, but I think that despite it being kind of basic, it still works because it puts it through relatable characters and relatable character arcs, and kind of like makes it easy to sympathize with Aleph as she continues to basically, you know, contribute to that hegemony, uh, and you can kind of see her motivations for it and what would kind of possess somebody to, you know, buy into that idea. So right now we're just kind of at the beach area. This is one of the 3 different factories that we can join into, and this one has kind of like a bioorganic feeling to it as you know, go in and out of the starfish, and then we'll eventually get inside of the factory. Okay. So we're just going to go through here. Another important thing to note about this game is its energy system. So there's 2 types of energy. One type of energy is this blue or turquoise energy here, and what that will do is actually what's this? Yeah, that's the one we need. And those will actually be so there's basically horizontal and vertical energy, and by hitting certain objects, it will give me a second here as I try to figure out. By hitting certain objects, it will push the balance of your energy towards one way or another, and by doing that you'll be either able to you'll be able to kind of either jump higher or run faster, and kind of keeping the balance of those 2 things is kind of one of the big gameplay mechanics of this game, as well as it kind of builds into the theming of the game as well, in terms of trying to, you know, keep a balance within your life and the people around you. I wrote a little bit about it for a rock paper shotgun there. That's probably going to be a much clear and succinct idea version of those ideas than my ramblings here, but you know, it's a little harder to show off how it feels to play something in an article. So I felt like it was worth returning to in video format. Additionally, you can kind of use your shield to do different things. Like if you see here, if I just use it normally, if I just put it to the side here, I'll get this small boost. But if I push it down, the water will push up against it, which will allow me to get an even higher boost. And just lots of gimmicks like that. There's wind tunnels and things like that that will also do similar things. Let's see, let's get some of these. We're gonna bring these back to normal. Additionally, this game has a lot of accessibility options and things that are really excellent, and I feel like kind of put a lot of other games to shame in terms of just how much they do. Yet this game kind of like, not a lot of people played it. Like for as big as Anodyne 1 was, and even Anodyne 2, not a lot of people played even the ocean for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure what it was about it. Maybe it's just kind of, you know, it's a kind of crowded genre that it's playing in. And it's much easier to get somebody to pay attention to your like Zelda-like or whatever, than it is to get them to play like another puzzle platform or whatever, no matter how excellent somebody might say it is. Oops. Let's be careful here. So, while I'm right here, let's just go to some of those settings real quick. I always mess up the A and B button things. So there's some speedrun options. You can kind of skip a lot of things that cause like small slowdowns and things like that. In addition, you can turn off screen flashes, screen shake. You can do float movement. So if like platform is really giving you trouble, you can do that. You can just straight up turn off dying. You can go through different gates that would otherwise need you to do some puzzles and stuff. There's effects, sound effects, captions, helper blocks that make jumping a little easier. Something like kind of like those Mega Man easier things, mild to energy to make it slower to reach the point where you die. I have the no hold shield lock because I kind of like just tapping the button to switch the direction, and then you can kind of get rid of some of the things like the 3D overworld, which might, you know, give some people some motion sickness and things like that. So it's really extensive, and on top of that, you can also choose to play either in story mode or gauntlet mode, which can remove the puzzle aspects or the story aspects if you just want to play one or the other. That's available from start right away. There's also kind of the option to skip to different chapters, which is kind of useful for recordings and things like that. I have not used it for this one. This is still pretty early in the game, but if you want to get footage of like a specific thing, that's pretty useful. As well as if you just want to, you know, you're having trouble, you just want to see the end of the game, that's fine too. They didn't really put those options in Anodyne 2 as far as I know, and that's just because it's like a little bit more of a complex game and required a lot more resources for them while building it, as far as what I've heard from them. So it just like it was a little less feasible in there, but it's like you hear a lot about, and that's what happens when your energy gets a little too skewed to one position. You hear a lot of things about like games like Celeste and whatever, and their incredible accessibility and things like that. And while I think that having those options and stuff that they do have is pretty encouraging, I feel like there's a lot of other games that kind of get left out of the conversation in terms of what you can do. And there's like a lot of idea of this, like, oh, we have to maintain the challenge and whatever. Like, no, I don't know. I really feel that if you're gonna try to make something accessible, you're gonna have to have somebody play the game in a way that you didn't intend. That's gonna kind of break the game by its, you know, nature. And I think that just you should let them do that. Just because it's the right thing to do. First of all, and then like just it's really like just trust people to tell you what they need, and give them the options, you know, to find out exactly what it is that they need to do. If they want to you know, totally just not deal with the platforming or whatever, that's fine. That might be what they need to enjoy your game. Or, you know, if they just want to do the story bits without the other stuff, that might also be what they need, you know? It's not really... it's about kind of giving those options, right? At least, personally, that's my feeling on it. But also, yeah, again, as I was saying, it's just... There is a lot of... Oh, here we go. This game kind of gets left out of the conversation, as well as, like, some other games I think that do a decent job, like Overwhelm. Even though that's kind of a little closer to stuff like what like Celeste did, and it's just kind of like, it's kind of a shame to see, like, one of the things that I lamented about when I talked about this game for Rock Paper Shotgun is it's kind of a shame to see people make a big deal about like having diverse games, having diverse characters and stories, and having like accessibility, and then kind of just ignore a game that kind of hits on all those cylinders. And it just kind of reminds me of like Oh, I might be dead. How easy it is to kind of overlook like work from marginalized folks and from different marginalized identities and stuff like that. In favor of like huge and focus like on huge big budget games and stuff like that. And kind of become obsessed with uh, the idea of those kind of being our metric for, you know, metric for all these conversations where small games like this are kind of doing all those things that we want already and are doing them in interesting ways. Alright, so here we go. So this is going to be the meat of the game. Kind of going over here. This is going to be basically is in your JRPG parlance. This is your dungeon. And basically you can kind of see it's going to involve a lot of doing platforming puzzles. You're going to be doing a lot of things like picking up these receptors, and basically you have to make sure that they don't touch any of these different plants on the way there, because they will break because they're really fragile, and you got to use kind of a lot of the different parts of the environment and different gimmicks to kind of restore power to this. And there'll be a small kind of mirror redirection puzzle after that. The platforming challenges do eventually kind of ramp up in complexity, but right here at the beginning they start off nice and easy for us. And I think like the platforming itself is pretty fun. I especially kind of love getting this purple energy and like ending up like getting right on the edge and being able to do like really fast runs through areas. Like I can definitely see this being like a really fun kind of speed run kind of game. And I do think there is definitely a community for speedrunning this game. And definitely probably there's like a lot of interesting ideas coming out of both the story and the gameplay mechanics itself. But this is kind of just a small overview of that. Hopefully, I know this isn't like a real big deep dive into the game, but hopefully this like kind of alerted you to something that you might not have played and maybe gave you some ideas to think about while you eventually play this game. I think it's just like a really small, charming game. It takes like maybe 6-7 hours to play through, and it really gives me those good vibes of like a Super Nintendo era RPG, where it just kind of tells you a nice simplistic, not rather simplistic, but like a nice emotional tale with like simple verbs and simple devices, and tells them really effectively. Like some of the stuff near the end of this game really there's some real astounding art and musical moments that kind of that kind of really like charmed and astounded me, and like the way that like older, smaller games can kind of do for you. There's just a lot of little surprises and love put into this game, and it's something that I hope that more people, you know, give a chance. So let me know if you've played this game. Let me know what you thought of it. If you haven't, let me know if this has, you know, given you any interest in it, and just let me know what you think in general. All right, everybody. This has been Even the Ocean once again, and this is Amr signing off.